Okay, so today I'm going to go over some ETFs that you can consider on Invest Engine. I'm not a financial advisor, so I'm just showing you one of my portfolios. And I'm just going to go through it just so you can learn and have a look and obviously decide for yourself. So don't copy me, but I'm just going to, it'll give you more information on the site and the different returns and different choices really. So okay, so this is a portfolio. I only started this portfolio a week ago and it's up by 1.14%, which I know is not a lot, but that's in a week. So, and I know there's not a lot in there, but yeah, it is what it is. You can set up a savings plan if you want. You click on here and you can set up a direct debit. So if you want to do a direct debit weekly or monthly, you can do that. This is how much it costs me in fees. It's 0.21%. And my dividend yield, I'll do another video on dividends, which I absolutely love. But the dividend yield on this portfolio is 1.51% per year. Okay, so you can hold this portfolio either in your SIPP or in your stocks and shares ISA. So the SIPP will be taxed though when it comes out, and the stocks and shares ISA, it won't be taxed when it comes out. So let's start off with the S&P 500, which, let's have a look. So when you click on it, it will load up. Right. If I do over a year, it's only up 4.31%. But when you look over, when you're investing, you have to look over a longer timeline because there's ups and downs over. So you need to look at more like 5, 10 years, 20 years. So for example, if you see when this started, January 2017, then to get a yearly average, you take the 162.71% and then you divide it by the years, and then it'll give you your average. I think they normally say it's like 10 to 12% a year. So that's the total return. Oh, the difference between the total return and the price return is the dividends. So you can see without the dividends it would have been 144 odd percent, and then with the dividends 162. So, and then if you scroll down, it gives you a description here of the index. So it's basically the 500 top US companies, and then it's showing you here that they pay a dividend of 1.05% quarterly. And then if we go down here, it will tell you what holdings are in the portfolio, sorry, the ETF. So you can see the usual suspects there. And even though it is the S&P 500, you can see that it actually has 503 stocks in there. Now, this index, if there's a company that starts to not do so well, it will fall out of this index and they'll put another one in. So you don't have to worry about that. That's quite good. Then you can click on regions. Obviously, it's mostly America because it's the S&P 500. And you can click on sectors and it will give you the percentage breakdowns. As you can see, tech's quite high and industrials is quite high. So that's how you can see the information on the ETF. You can, if you want more detail, you can actually go over to the Vanguard site and type in this and it will give you like a download sheet that will show you like the returns over certain times. I think they do like 1 year, 5 year, 10 years, that kind of thing. So if you want more detailed information. So that's that. And the S&P 500 is like the benchmark, really. Right. The next one. Let's go for the Nasdaq. So the Nasdaq is tech. And as you can see, the return on my S&P 500 just in a week is 1.63, but the Nasdaq is 2.3%. Then I think on average, now don't quote me on this, but on average, so say the S&P 500 returns 10%, the Nasdaq will probably do 20%, it's about double. So let's have a look here. So there's the yearly. Again, you need to look over a longer timeline though. So we'll do the max. You can see there, it's a lot higher than the S&P 500. I'm not saying you should invest in this because it is a lot more risky than the S&P 500, but again, if you want to get the average yearly return, you just take the percentage of the 429% and then divide it out over how many years. You can see that's from the 9th of May 2016. So you can do the same thing here. It's basically 100 stocks that are tech related, and the dividend yield is 0.33%. The tech stocks have they're not as high dividend payers because they're trying to grow their companies. So you can see the stocks here, and again, even though it says 100, there's 102 in there. So, and again, you can have a look at the regions, which is mostly America. And oh, that's interesting because it is a tech index, but it's put only 40% in tech, and then the others in industrial consumables. Sorry, consumer. Oh, interesting. But it is tech. That one is more riskier than the S&P 500 though. So that's that one. Right, let's have a look at another one. Right, so this one is all world. So if you don't want to just bet on America, which is probably a bad thing because the American stocks and ETFs normally do pretty well, but if you don't want to, if you want to diversify more by not just investing in America, even though this is probably 50% in America, we'll have a look in a minute. So that's where you go. I think quite a few people are like, they're either all in on the S&P 500 or they're all in the all world. So the all world is less risky, more diversified, but you won't get quite as high returns, but it's close to the S&P 500, so it's still good. I'll show you the year quickly, and then the max. And again, if you want to get your average, just look how many years and the percentage. Right, so have a look. So this one's got a dividend yield of 1.54%, and that's paid quarterly. Oh, I forgot to mention, but the fees are here. They're taken out, I think they're taken out automatically, so you don't even see them. Right, where were we? So again, you can see the stocks here. The usual suspects are in here as well as normal. But can you see how many more stocks we've got here? 2,975. So that's a lot more diversified. And there's a lot more stocks. So we go to regions. Oh, there we go. I said 50%, 58.5%. Okay, so you can see that there's 11% in Europe, etc. down there, different ones. It is still the bulk of it in America, but that, you know, that's what goes up, so not surprising really. And then sectors. Right, can you see the difference here where industrials is 24%, which is higher than the tech. So this is not as tech heavy, which, you know, it could be a good or bad, because like I say, tech's more risky, but you want a bit of tech to get the growth. So yeah. Right, and we've got one more to go, so let's go back. Right, so this is an all world, which is similar to this all world, but this one is more dividend focused. So I'll show you the year, and then I'll show you the max. It's quite similar to the other all world one. So yeah, you can see they're concentrating more on companies that are known for paying higher than average dividends. So I think a good dividend really is anything over 2%. So this pays 3.13% quarterly. And you can see, so you only get 1,802 stocks in this one. And let's have a look. You can see though here, for example, Exxon's popped up on one of the tops, where it didn't on the other ones, and Procter & Gamble and Johnson & Johnson and Home Depot, which are more, I know Procter & Gamble and Johnson & Johnson are definitely known more for their dividends. So yeah, right, let's look at regions. Okay, so less in America this time, and some in Europe, and then let's look at sectors. Right, look at tech, 4.7, hardly any tech. So it's saying that tech don't really pay a lot of dividends. So financials, industrial and consumer are the main ones. So yeah, I'm a big dividend fan actually, because say you're having a down market one year, say you've invested in all these four like I have on here, so the S&P might not do very well, the Nasdaq will do worse than that, the all world will do bad, but not as bad as the other two probably, but the dividends, at least you're still getting your 3%. So yeah, I'm a big fan of dividends, but I'll do another video going more detail into dividends, and especially dividend growth. So I'll talk to you more about that on another video though. So let's go back. So when I was mentioning about the cost here, the 0.21 cost of the portfolio, that's the cost of all four together. Right, this button will reinvest your cash in dividends. I haven't turned it on yet, but I will do. But that's a good idea to do that. So when you're getting your 3%, that will just automatically buy more of the ETFs. So that's good. You can also click on the analytics button, which will give you, the detail I went through on each one. This will do it for the whole, all four. So if you want to see how much you invested in America, for example, you can click on that and that will show you that. And then this is the direct debit I mentioned. I think the minimum's either £50 or £100 on this per month. It's a bit annoying you can't do it weekly, but this is what they offer. So I think that's about it. Yeah. So yeah, and like I said, this is, you can do this in the SIPP, or you can do this on the ISA. So, but if you do it in the SIPP, you'll get, if you put £100 in, the government will put £25 top up in there. So that's really good. I've actually got this in both my ISA and my SIPP, and my plan is to have it in the SIPP with the extra 25%, and then when I can get access to it at 50, I think it'll be 58, and then I'll take 25% of that and move it over to my ISA, so that I can take out tax free. And that's about it really. I'm not saying you need to invest in these, but these are some of the most popular. I mean, I'll show you quickly. There are other ones you can just go in and choose. Let's have a quick look. I was looking at Germany earlier. Right, let's have a quick look. Yeah, how mad is this? So, you know, it's when I was looking on the yearly on all the other ones. Look how well Germany's doing in a year. 32%, pretty good, hey? But again, when you look over the longer term, which is what you need to look at, not the short term, it's actually still quite good. So what's that? Five years? 120% over 5 years? It's pretty good. I've got this in, you can see, I've got it in my other portfolios. So I do have this in some of my other portfolios, but if you wanted to add something like that, you just go add to portfolio and you amend your percentages. I think I've got 25% on the 4 that I had, but you can change the percentages if you want, so it's up to you really. So for example, if you thought the tech was a bit risky, you could drop that down to 5 or 10% or not at all. Or if you wanted to concentrate more on dividends, you could push that one up. Completely up to you. So there's an overview though. It's not all the ETFs, there's loads of them, so these are just some of the most popular. So just a quick overview. Thanks.